Hey guys, welcome to the Blue Collar Business Podcast, where we discuss the realest, rawest, most relevant stories and strategies behind building every corner of a blue collar business. I'm your host, Cy Kirby, and I want to help you. What it took me, trial and error, and a whole lot of money to learn. The information that no one in this industry is willing to share. Whether you're under that shade tree or have your hard hat on, let's expand your toolbox. Welcome back to another episode of the Blue Collar Business Podcast, brought to you and sponsored by podcastvideos.com. I am in one of their solo pod rooms today. Check them out online, guys. I've been with them over a year now. Love what they're doing with the show and who we are reaching and the impact they're actually having. Today, guys, going down the sales route. Pretty excited about it. We've been kind of all over the place with finance and federal contracting and equipment and the number one thing I preach about on this show all the time, sales is everything. Sales fixes everything. Now, profitable revenue fixes everything, but sales in general. Today, I am joined by Joe Crisara, who is the founder of ServiceMVP.com, and he is America's service coach. I can tell you that. I've had a little bit of time with Mr. Joe already. We've had to reschedule this podcast a couple times, so I really appreciate your patience again, sir. But a little bit about Joe, guys. Over 40 years of experience in contracting and sales training. Creator of what I'm very interested in learning about today is the Pure Motive Service Approach. Again, founder of ServiceMVP.com all the way back in 2001, and coaches thousands of contractors via live calls, workshops, and of course, as you guys know, I am very passionate about digital content and pushing into the digital space. So furthermore, Mr. Joe, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Cy, for having me here. Definitely, I appreciate you blocking your time and changing your schedule and finding a way to open up this time for both of us to be able to communicate high value to service contractors and other people out there on the planet who need to do that.
Now, I'm telling you, there's not enough resources out there, good, pure resources out there for these guys that they're building America. And just the way we sit here and view them, man, they need teachers. I needed teachers. I needed help. And that's, of course, why we're sitting here today on this podcast. I tried to create a resource, but bringing folks like yourself to start speaking about sales, and man, we've been all over the map, but I am truly excited to get into your background. So tell us a little bit about, number one, what Service MVP is today, and kind of your backstory, because it sounds like you had a pretty high motivation in the same spot that a lot of us have been in before, where we thought our business was doing great, but actually it probably wasn't doing as great, and you turned it around and doing great things now.
Well, it did start out with me priding myself on being the best worker, or the best, doing the best quality. I grew up with the kind of my grandfather and my father said, if you can't do it right the first time, don't do it at all. So I was always prided myself on doing HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and really anything I did. Even if I fixed my car, I tried to make sure I overbuilt it. I didn't try to just do it minimum. And then, of course, it wasn't about 1985 I started my own business back in the mid-'80s, and I didn't really have any idea I knew how to do the work inside the business, but then I had an entrepreneurial seizure to start a business, and I didn't know how to price myself. I didn't know how to run the business itself or manage the business. And so really what I did to start the business, I learned what my competition was charging, and I just charged a little bit less than they did. The only motivation I thought that people had to purchase was a lower price. I thought everybody was motivated by a lower price. That's all I knew. And so by doing it that way, I wound up to be in debt. By about 1991, I was about $500,000 in debt. And then one of my clients took pity on me, and they said, because $500,000 back in the early 90s would be like probably $2.5, $3 million today, right? So, and I was like to give you an example, my average service call was about $78 I was charging, and my equipment for a furnace was like $1,500. So for me to get $500,000 out of debt would be ridiculous. And I was just too weak to collect the money. I didn't know how to charge the money. Just everything was dysfunctional. Then one of my clients said that there's a science behind all this, and he showed me the science of pricing first, and then he showed me the science of connecting, the science of project management, and just everything. There's a science behind everything here, and I didn't realize there was. And once I started learning it, like immediately I started selling equipment on furnaces and ACs for I was selling it for $1,500. Next thing you know, my average sale is about $12,000 in about next month. And I was like, I couldn't believe, just because I changed the way the prices were displayed, the science about the way the prices are displayed. I couldn't believe it. It immediately basically multiplied it by more than 10 times the amount I was doing. And I just an interesting thing was I was $500,000 in debt by 1991, but roughly by December of 1994, I was debt free. That's how fast the impact of that information was, and so today we still teach that information. It's the greatest thing that ever happened to me, was that struggle, because then I was forced to learn a different way. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here to talk about it. Make sense? So it always goes back to those things we have, those challenges, which eventually turn into victories. We just have to keep our mind on the fact that it can be a victory in the future,
Literally, you are speaking my language. I was born in 1991, sir, and $500,000 back then, that's an astounding amount of money. And yeah, you're right, a couple million now is about what that equated to. But
to give you an example, my house cost $58,000 for a 2,500 square foot house in a beautiful suburb of northern Chicago. That same house probably costs $500,000 now. So you know what I'm saying. So back then it was a house cost. I could buy that same house on my credit card if I could buy $58,000 now. But I had a 30-year mortgage on $58,000. That's how much the value of money has changed over the years. Makes sense. So you're right. It was crazy how much that was.
Debt-free in 1994 from the science that you learned here. And you're exactly right. There is a science to it. And talk about education or experience, and you can learn it through education, or you can learn it straight through on your own experience. And that's the route I unfortunately decided to choose. But I do believe the value in the lessons, if you gain it through experience rather than education, is something that's never forgotten. It's so valuable, locked up in your filing cabinet up here in your head. But you not only, I share a passion with you, I'm sitting here learning as well. That's exactly what you did. You're like, man, this freaking tool did it for me. Why can't I do it for others?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it. That's exactly what I found. And actually it was when I started to pay off all my debt, because I had the money to pay it off. Now I had money coming in. I came in and I paid off my final debt of, it was $69,000 to my supplier for air conditioning equipment. And he said, how did you pay it off? How did you come up with $69,000? And I had a promissory note for $80,000. I paid it down in small increments, but I finally had a check for $69,000 just to give him. And he said, how'd you come up with the money? And I said, well, I showed him what I do. I showed him the science of pricing and what I do. And he goes, oh my gosh, I got like 70 or 80 contractors who are in debt like that. Could you help them? And so my supplier that I paid off, started giving me people to get out of debt. And so I started helping other people get out of debt. And I didn't even charge for it. I was just like, yeah, let me help you. And so I would just help. And then people start saying, I have to give you something. And so then they start paying me something for it. And I'm like, I guess this is a business of its own. I didn't realize it was a business of its own. And so then I'm like, kind of all the things aligned. By about 2001, I sold my other business, and then I started this consulting, very, very just performance consulting, I call it. I just tried to help people, and then they felt like they needed to pay me, almost like what do you call that thing? GoFundMe or whatever. It's like I would go out there and help people. Here, let me give you 10,000 or whatever kind of a thing, right? Because you just helped me so much. And then I start saying, like, I gotta stop getting the donations. I gotta start making it a real business. So probably about 2004, 2003, when I really became serious about doing this. So that's where that's how I became doing this. So basically, because everybody else saw I did this, they're like, you should help other people with it, and that's what happened. So that's the journey I have. Make sense?
That is astounding, is what that is. And I appreciate you, a successful businessman, on the absolute end of it, not taking your vision of it. I needed to key in on that point, like you said, through all the struggles that you faced to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Passionate about, that's crazy to hear a supplier looked at you made that much of an impact and go, hey, can you help these other guys? And for you to turn around and at that time, your competition, you started helping them. That's just speaks volumes of, number one, who you are and what your life motto is. I can tell you're passionate about it. You want to help these guys like myself. I truly, you teach something called around the pure motive service approach, and putting the customer's best interest first and trusting doing the right thing will lead to better results. What does this pure motive really mean in the context of like just selling service work?
Well, you can see the motivation, even in that story. When I was helping other people, I wasn't thinking about the money. I was just trying to alleviate the pain because I knew I went through a lot of pain. It cost me my first marriage. It it broke up a lot of relationships and things like that with people I knew because of money. And so it was very painful. And I always say I was just too stupid to quit. I just wasn't. I wasn't wired to quit on things. That's how I am. And yeah, everybody advised me to quit. Like, you should go bankrupt. It'd be easier. Just go bankrupt and get a job. That's what people told me.
Yep.
And so I didn't do it. I just kept going until somebody gave me an answer. But I was smart enough to listen to the answer. And what pure motive service is, if you focus on the motivation as to why I am doing things for people, like even when the prices are higher, like, why is the price higher? If you have a good reason, a pure motive reason why it's higher, well, the pure motives would be the reason the price is higher because I'm doing a much higher quality and a much more reliable solution that's permanent, would be the pure motive. Now, if I can say, what can I do to make this problem go away permanently? I suppose the temporary would just be to fix it. Permanent would be to replace it or renovate it. And then the way in the middle is professional. So permanent, professional, and temporary. That's why I look at that way. And that's kind of like premium, mid-range, and economy, if you will say that, right?
Okay.
So the science behind it is premium, mid-range, economy, called tiered pricing, TIER, like a tier, like a ladder. The science of tiered pricing is that if you only give one price, you're usually going to give the cheapest one, like I was doing when I was broke. And then if you try good, better, best, roughly 40% of the people will upgrade if you offer something better or best. And then if you offer premium, mid-range, economy, where you start with the premium price first, then 80% will upgrade if you did that. And if you did 2 premium, 2 mid-range, 2 economy, your closing rate would be almost 90%, and your average ticket would go up by about 5.5 times more than it was before by doing it that way, by just offering more services to the same customer. So today, if you look at all the people I train, when somebody calls and says, I want to just fix my air conditioning unit, I'd say, sure, but we're going to go ahead and replace the ductwork, the air AC, the furnace, air quality, Wi-Fi connected thing. We're going to do zoning with ductless mini splits. So we're going to do everything in the permanent solution in the premium option. The bottom option, just the air conditioner you called me for. The professional ones, heating and air conditioning in the middle, but just don't replace the ductwork or whatever, right? So if you look at it like, any business, you name a business and I can change it like in seconds. Any business at all, you challenge me and you bring a business and I'll tell you exactly what that business can do in about 30 seconds, how it could easily change it. Everybody's sitting right, like if you're an accountant, if somebody calls and says, I want to do can you do my taxes? Sure, let me take a look at your books. Now you look at the books and you're like, we need to get that cleaned up. Let me do your bookkeeping. That's the premium option. So you don't do anything. Let me take care of your accounting. I'll do your taxes. I'll make sure we audit your workman's comp. All that stuff could be done by an accountant. And so if you were doing an accountant, you have the premium option where I do everything. The professional option, I do your taxes and I do clean your books up. And the bottom option, I just do the taxes like they are now, and that's it. So if you took any business at all, there's a variation of that, type of a thing. You just bring me a business and I'll show you exactly what the premium mid-range economy. I just had a door company, that does locks, locksmith. He's like, what can I do on that? It's a lock's a lock. I'm like, dude, what's a lock going on top of a door? I said, is the door jamb cracked or is it perfect? Oh, it's cracked. How about the striker plate? How about the hinges? How about the threshold? Is it weatherproofed? Like, how many doors are there? A front door and a back door, right? So why are we doing both? So the premium. So I just met a guy yesterday. I'm like, he goes, Joe, I just sold 5,000 on a call I would have made 500 on. He goes, I would have had the guy bitching about 500, and now I sold 5,700 because I did both doors and everything. And he's like, he did it in one day. It didn't even take anything other than that, right? So literally, I believe the stuff I teach can instantly transform a business of any kind. And I'm just the messenger of something that's true. I think we all know if you go to a car wash, most people got the stuff in the middle. Every now and then you detail the car for like $160. And then sometimes you're like, I just want to rinse off. I'm going to do $19 for the rinse off type of thing. And you never know what people do. But some days they go to their wedding and they want to detail it. Some days I want to take care of myself and get the wax and everything and the car vacuumed out. Every now and then I want to rinse off the salt or whatever. And so, it's just like people buy things differently every time. So you have to bring all the ways that people purchase so they can choose the one that's right for them. So that's what Pure Motive Service is. Pure Motive Service is making the effort to diagnose not just the problem, but go further into it to make sure we solve the problem permanently so they can have a package of solutions where they don't got to do it anymore. We don't got to keep buying it. We just provide it permanently for you in a way. Does that make sense, sir?
Oh man, that is, guys, you just heard it here first. I mean, I was sitting here as you were talking, I'm like, wow, that makes a ridiculous amount of sense. Yeah, of course, you're calling me for a doorknob. I can or I can give you I can replace the whole door if you want me to, or I can fix, it is.
But the difference is, Si, most people just say they can do it. They don't write it down and put it in writing. So the difference between an amateur and a professional, what I learned from Dave and my guy who trained me on that, or my mentor, my one of my customers told me, he goes, Joe, you got to start doing this. And he showed me, and I did it. And I'm like, the very first call I sold a I normally would have had it was an igniter or a thermocouple on a furnace that wasn't working. I would have gotten $75. Instead, I did the whole ignition system, the burners, the gas valve, and everything. The top price was $1,900. The bottom price was $75. The first customer bought $1,250 on the very first call, which was over 10 times the amount on the very first call. Next call, I had a spring coupler on a pump, would have been like $125. I sold that for $3,800 for new pumps, new relays, and everything like that. So it's just like the story just continues. Everybody I teach is like surprised, like, I can't believe this thing works. I can't believe that the same opportunity I went to before where the guy's bitching about the price, that same guy is buying something for $8,000 now rather than $800 or whatever. That's the weird part.
It is crazy. But you hit the word earlier, purchasing. You're getting into the brain of your customer, right? And figuring out how they spend their money. How does our brain work when we read this one-paged, is it a written, taking a picture of estimate? Or is this just like you said a second ago, amateur versus professional? I mean, early on in my years, heck, I would just shoot you a big old long text message and go, this is kind of where I'm at. Oh, okay, thumbs up or thumbs down. Now it's a 5-page proposal with a contract and attached and all, and it can get, but you're only sending out one price. And I kind of changed my mind a little bit. I mean, at least offer an optional edition. In the commercial world, as you know, sir, a lot of times they'll ask for VE options or optional editions or etc. and you can put those on, and they do help in some regards. But
You do commercial work? What kind of work do you do?
yes, sir. So we are an excavation and utility contractor. So we basically do civil site work, anything underground, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And so on the pipe side of things, I'm sitting here going, and I can't say we do it often. We normally do new install, commercial, land development, but there is some maintenance service contracts that I also do on the water for water systems. And I'm sitting here like, and there's a problem with my customer because I'm sitting here going, this customer doesn't have much of a budget to spend because city funds, etc. And I'm going back and forth, and I'm like, well, I could give them a 1, 2, 3 option here on once we figure this out. There was a video not too long ago on our YouTube channel. I did that exact thing, but they chose to go with the bottom route. So be it. Let's get it done.
Well, I'll just tell you something. We had several commercial people use this, and it's like the city specs. The engineer for the city specifies what they want.
That's right.
And so here's what we're looking for in this office. We're going to do. It's like, okay, that's the bottom option. That's what they're asking for. But you're asking me to put a 2025 rooftop unit into ductwork that's been here since 1958. So we just do it. We say, hey, here's the prices. The premium option is new rooftop unit, new ductwork, an air quality system with ultraviolet purification to kill the allergies for the people who are in the workspace. And then the bottom option is just the thing you asked me for. And the one in the middle is just the whole thing without the air quality, just the ductwork. So just a part of the ductwork. How about the return? Then the thing, and so you have a range of things you can do. And so by doing it that way, even the city, we had the city of Kansas City was like, oh yeah, we didn't think about that. You know what? Let's go ahead and do the better option. I talked to the board members, and they said we need to do. If we're going to do this, let's do it right. And they appropriated more funding for the project. So it's crazy though that's how powerful it is, Si. Even when it seems like insurmountable, like nobody's going to do this, you do it anyway and just see what happens. And then people are like, you know what? Let's get this project done the right way. Let's just, because if you are a place like for a city or a municipality and you're purchasing stuff on behalf of the constituents, you purchase that wrong, your job's on the line. Does that make sense? Like if the professional says, here's the premium way, and you chose the cheap way, you're like, something goes wrong with that way. They're going to come back for your head
every time
to say you did that. So no matter who it is, even new construction or everything like that, like I had a new construction person, like when they're like, you can't do it for new construction, right? And I'm like, no, you can. I said, they do it right now in the kitchen, right? When you buy a house, it's not like you're just like, here's the kitchen. They go, hey, what kind of cabinets do you want? There's premium mid-range economy cabinets. And what kind of a quartz, granite, or you just want fiber formica? What do so you start thinking about it. Why is it that everybody else does it? And the only people who don't do it are the hardest working people like you who do like excavation. To dig for a living is a bitch. I mean, that's it's a bitch to do that job. Yet, isn't it funny? The hardest working ones don't do it. It's like the guys who got it easy, like kitchen cabinets, like just screw those in the wall. They're doing it, right? But us who are grinding it out in crawl spaces and basements and underground, we're not doing it for some reason. And you consider this: you're hooking up new, say, municipal underground piping. Well, we could do a Wi-Fi connected shutoff valve inside for the consumer. Let's say they could do that. Or you're doing an excavation job and they're not doing a dual suite clean out. You could have somebody do the clean out like that type of thing, right? And you could backfill it. You could put sod. There's different things you could add to excavation. You could excavate it. You could backfill it. You could sod it and resurface the thing. And
I think it could definitely be
all kinds of stuff.
Earthwork side of things, because there's so many little scope gaps on the earthwork side of things. And if somebody, I should say, there's so many. General speaking, there's final grading, and then who's backfilling around the boxes, or who's backfilling curb, or the curb.
You got it.
Well, there's some small things there, so I could really see it from the earthwork side. Back in the resi game, back in those days, now, like, guys, if you're listening to this, I would definitely take the time and get with Joe, because if you're a residential contractor, um, this is going to could change your entire business. And I truly hope that you guys connect. My next question, Joe, is I've often wondered when I saw this one coming up, I was like, what's the average age of the contractor you work with? Like, are you starting to see, your early 30s cases?
Actually, there is it's definitely a transformation right now. Uh, there was a time where most of the people I dealt with were over 40 years old, between 40 and 55 or something like that. I would say that was the vast majority. That was like who owned businesses for quite a while, it seemed like. And now, though, I am seeing a bunch of people who are in their 20s, 24, 21, anywhere from 20. I'd say the average right now, I would say, would be between 23 and 28 would be the average entrepreneur right now. I would say it's a much younger crowd. That's good though, because they are definitely open to a new way. They're not locked into something their grandfather was doing. I see a lot of people who took over their grandfather's business and they just changed it overnight. Like, the company I sold to in 2001, that was only about between the two of us, we were $6 million total. And then after the first year of using my system, they did about 15 million the first year. Just in the went from that they took my customers, I took their customers, we used our stuff, and we did like 15. Now today that company is like $380 million company because the children took it over from the grandparents and stuff like that, and they grew it to one of the biggest companies in the Chicago area. Owns that company. They're on the Cubs games. They're on the White Sox games. Or Bulls. Their name is stamped onto the court at the Bulls game. So they've gone big time. You want to call that, because they learned how to use us and scale it. On top of that, make sense?
No, 100%. I think just this one off the top of my head, you have a very unique, obviously working system. What do you think give me some pet peeves of the traditional sales advice that you see all over LinkedIn and everywhere else? What's the, two things that these younger contractors really need to be looking out for?
I think the sales gets a bad name because I think people think sales is a game of pushing things to people. Does that make sense? Um, but sales is a game of attraction and not promotion. Does that make sense? You're not going to do anything to push people into something better. It's like they need to sell themselves on the problem. So one of the counterintuitive problems is that they try to sell solutions, but they don't clearly identify the problem. And so there's a thing called the science is called the law of cognitive dissonance. And dissonance means the opposite of harmony. So harmony is when things are going good. Dissonance is when things are going bad. And that tells you about the lesson of my life, right? Things were going bad, and then I learned how to do things good, right? So, but the thing is that it's a fact of life that there's going to be good things and bad things that happen. And if we don't emphasize the problem as a professional, you're not going to have people buy the solution because they don't see why it's too risky to buy the solution if it doesn't have a problem it's solving. Like, why would I? Who cares? Why should I get the whole thing done? Because if I said like your ductwork is from 1958, that's not enough of a problem. But if I said your ductwork is from 1958 and see the gray dust inside of it, that's fiberglass your family's breathing. How do you feel about your daughter breathing that fiberglass? Oh, geez, like, how can we solve that problem? Well, we got to replace the ductwork too. All right, let's do that too. Like it didn't take long, but all I got to do is emphasize the problem and also the personal impact of the problem, the emotional element of it. So there's a logical element, the ductwork, the ditch you're digging, the utility line, whatever it is, and there's an emotional element of it too, right? What's it like when we don't have power? What's it like when we don't have water? What's it like when you'll have no hot water? That's the emotional part of it. So you have to be good at presenting the problem from a technical standpoint, and it has to be factual. It can't be something you're making up. And it has to be the emotional element, which you have witnessed by listening to your customer and witnessing their own emotional impact, that they say, I'm frustrated. This is stressful. I'm worried about this thing, right? I don't got time to take off work. Those are things that you can emphasize when you're telling people the problems and the personal impact. And then if you tell people the solution and the personal impact that's going to happen, that's going to be good, then people do a magic thing, Si. They sell themselves. You don't have to sell anything. So I don't really believe in selling people or pushing people into things. I believe in telling people the problem and telling them the emotional impact they're suffering, just kind of witnessing that, and then showing you the solution and the emotional impact you're going to have from that too. And then at the end, there's a question I've trademarked. It's copyrighted. It's an actual book I've written. It's a bestseller on Amazon. Sold 128,000 copies on Amazon, 430 pages, 9-hour Audible, right? The title of the book is called What Should We Do? So here's the prices. What should we do? That's a lot of money. I know it's a high investment. So what should we do? I got it. Can you email it to me? I can do better than email. Let's get rid of the top option. All right, let's get rid of it. All right, so take a look at the rest of them. What should we do? So you see the words, what should we do? You know you're not pushing it. You're not taking it away. You're not running away from it. You're not running toward it. You're letting it come to you. You're letting opportunity come your way. Make sense? But so the things that we always thought, like you're good at your job, it does matter to tell people the factual problem, but you also have to be in tune with the emotional problem that they're going through as well. And that's the hardest thing to teach contractors, honestly, because we're not very emotional. We've been taught to bury our emotions and not accentuate it or try to amplify the emotion. We don't want to cause any drama, basically, right? That's the problem with it. But unfortunately, you have to create some drama about the problem, not creating it. You're just observing the drama that the problem is causing, communicating that back to your client, and then having the client sell themselves and ask you for a solution. And there you go. You've got the solution in writing and you show people the solution. That's it. Make sense?
That's 100% it makes sense. So you're just really, hey, you got a problem. Here's a couple of solutions for your a problem. But while I was looking for a problem, I found these other problems that may directly affect these solutions. So yes, no, absolutely.
If you think you're stressed now, it's like this, Si. If I said, it could be anything, like your garage door doesn't work, right? It could be like, Si, right now, you're right. The garage door opener is fried, and that is bad. But here's the worst thing. The torsion spring is cracked on top. You know what that is? That makes the garage door go up and down easier. Remember how stressed you said your wife, Linda, was when she couldn't get out of the garage? That really bothers me, Si. What do you think about that? And see, there's two elements of it. The opener, the spring, and Si, there's no weatherproofing anymore. The door strip fell off, and I see rodents are entering into the, see the rat droppings or the mice droppings in your garage? How come you guys don't have the weather strip fixed on that thing? See, that's the problem again. And did you see that the cables they're frayed and they're starting to come undone? Si, how come you haven't taken care of that yet? Oh, Joe. I mean, what's Linda going to think when she sees that problem? How can we fix everything? Well, here's the solution. I wrote down the premium mid-range economy solution. The premium one includes a door, new rails, new opener. We do a slat walls to organize your garage better. We do floor coating on the garage floor. Everything. The premium option is only going to be $297 a month for 10 years for 8.9% interest. So what should we do, right?
What should we do?
Right back again, right? The bottom option, we'll just fix the opener, and that's it for $500 or whatever. So the bottom option is that every business is sitting on top of this gold mine, and they've got much better solutions, but they're afraid to offer it because they think they're going to upset customers. And the reason they think that is because they're not good at explaining the problem. That's the number one thing people are not good at. Make sense?
Yeah, and they're not transparent about it, especially like us blue collar guys. In the first 3 years, you're like, I was just at lunch earlier today with a gentleman that he's he's like, well, how am I supposed to let them know I'm going to make some money? And I'm like, hey, dude, you're not doing this for freaking fun. It's called work. You're going out there to work, make money.
Yeah.
You're the owner, my guy. So spin around. He in our heads, and I fell victim of it too. Early on, we just want to give them that price and cross our fingers, right? But God forbid if we took a labor quote, a material quote, and then, hey, it's mobilization here and a little indirect line, and this is what you guys are actually paying for in your $5,000, and build that transparency with your customer along with hey, I'm a professional. I can also find these other problems while I was on site. Here's fixed. That's crazy.
Well, science like this. When that gentleman was worried about what are people going to think when I tell them I'm going to have to make money on this job, he's worried about himself. That's not pure motive. Pure motive is I don't care about myself. I'm here to help you. I know it won't be popular. So one of the pure motives is called honesty, even when it's not popular. Like, I'm not here to win a popularity contest. I'm here to make sure the job gets done right. And that's going to be a higher investment in the quality and reliability and the safety and health of your family and the service, the customer service to anticipate what you need in the future, not just today, but also in the future. That's pure motive service. Those are defined. If every company had the pure motive service pledge or poster inside their company, that would be your talking points. That's the service provider's talking points. Why do you guys charge so much? Because we're a higher quality and reliability. We're not just doing the job. We're doing it in a more of a commercial way of doing it. We're doing not just the furnace, the AC, we're doing the ductwork and everything else too. That's why it's more money. So what should we do? Because it got a 12-year service agreement, the service, 12-year service, 12-year warranty. The filters and stuff, we're going to include that for 12 years too. And we made it affordable, service of affordability. That's why we did the financing. So it could be a 12-year payment, not a 1 year, not pay us up front. We're going to give you the job and give you the money. That's service. The service of doing a loan takes more time than it does just to accept cash or check. So everything that takes more time is a service. And so this guy who you're talking about who's trying to figure out the price, that's a service too. He doesn't realize just him thinking about the price is a service he's already providing. He's already stressing out about this price. You already see how it's already affecting your life and you haven't even got paid for it yet. So don't you think it's worth, just doing pure motive service and saying, I don't care about myself. I don't care what the customer is going to yell about. I'm going to get yelled at. If he's going to bitch about $150, let him bitch about 15,000 instead. It's like if you're going to bitch about something good. I'll give you something to bitch about, right? And so that's the way I look at it. If you're going to bitch about the 1,500, let me give you 15,000 to bitch about. Then you think the 1,500 looks cheap. Honestly,
That's right. Back to the age thing. So you're working with obviously guys in their 20s. I started when I was 23.
Mm-hmm.
Had no idea what I was doing. Are you big on CRM in the sales?
Honestly, I do believe in having keep in contact to retain your clients. If CRM you mean by a way to contact your clients and make sure we are retaining our clients, I think the first sale we need to make is by retaining the people who already do business with us. So I do agree with that. Yes,
love that.
I mean, the relationship we create with our customer, the hardest thing it is to do is sell something new. If somebody already knows that I have pure motive service, they buy everything from me. They keep buying too. They refer me to their family and their friends because they know they can trust me. Make sense? And they know I'm not in it for the money, although the money is more because I get the job done right. Because how many times have you done it, Si? Like, here, you got to go to this guy. He's a little bit more money, but you're gonna it's going to be done right.
Yep.
I think every great business has that kind of review, which is these guys are the best. But bring your wallet because they're more money. That's just what it is.
The other thing to that is where I think a lot of the customers really haven't figured out they don't weigh time like we do in the entrepreneur space, right? Like time is everything to us. Money is a tool to buy time. And so you're sitting here trying for, hey, look, this job can be done in 6 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, and it will be done at this price that I'm giving you. Yes, it's not the cheapest price in town, but the cheapest price in town is going to tell you 3 weeks, and it's going to take 8, and he's going to hit you with 3 change orders along the way, and you're going to be more than what I was to begin with. But it's that the view of purchasing, just like you were talking about earlier, and it's pretty crazy. But where I was going with that on the CRM situation, yeah, we got to retract and make sure we retain old customers and grab new customers, but make sure we're staying in contact with them. But what I have figured out, and we're not as high transactions as, say, an HVAC company or a plumbing company that does service calls all day long. So we're in the 5 to 20 invoices a month type situation. But say for that guy that has a ton of transactions happening, plumbers, HVACs, those guys, electricians, what are the numbers that they should be looking at and tracking, say, weekly or monthly? It doesn't have to be a detailed list, but maybe your top 2 that we really pay attention to as our business progresses.
Well, I would say that, looking at the very big picture, gross profit never lies. That, net profit can be manipulated by you taking on stuff for yourself personally and putting it in your overhead, and now your net profit sucks. But it's really called EBITDA, which is all the stuff you take personally from your business and the overhead, and then you say my net profit's low, so I don't got to pay taxes. I mean, that's just the way business works, right? But gross profit does not lie. It's here's how much the labor costs, here's the material cost, here's how much I sold it for. So the gross profit in a healthy business is about 65% minimum. There's no business that can operate for less than that, honestly, and then have money for the future. Because there's 2 kinds of profit we need to have. 65% is important because we got to pay that overhead, but we have to have additional money left over for today's operation. And then we also have to have money for the future to build the buildings, to handle chaos, to get new technology. There's things that are going to be needed in the future. So the profit literally has to be double what people think it should be. There's really no business that it's out there should really operate for less than 30% net profit, or because you're going to need the additional money to operate today and also operate into the future. Because as your company does well, you're going to need to buy new buildings. You're going to need to buy new trucks, need to replace the copy machine, need to get a new office furniture and things like that. So things wear out, service chaos. So, people crash a truck or trash the motor on your truck or whatever. Things just happen. You have to have money to handle the emergencies and also the future things that are proactive. That's where profit is. And then you have to have money for today, too. You have to have today's money. So it's worth the investment. So people just think profit is a simple thing. It's not simple. I say gross profit is number 1. Number 2, I would say to get us there, what's the break even for the business? How much do you need to make every month to break even? And then now you know what we charge more than that to make profit. So now you say, here's my break even. We should have made this much more to make that 30. We need to make 30% more than break even to make 30% net profit. Now you know the problem. You've identified the problem. The problem is we need to make this much, but we're only making this much. It's not enough. We can't get more leads. So we have to say, how can I sell more on a lead I have? So the number 1 problem is, what's the average sale? If your average sale can't really sustain your overhead and your profit, you need to increase. It's too hard to get new calls to come in. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like if I said, hey, find more people to excavate for, it's like, what are you going to do? Go door to door? Hey, can I dig up your front yard? It's like, you can't do that. But the calls you do have, you need to be able to do better service that's going to be a higher quality, reliability, safety, health, and service that people will purchase into the future for peace of mind. Like, remember I said the thing with the garage floor company? Remember that?
Yep.
A company does garage floors. They said, well, what can I do? It's just a garage floor. I said, who takes the stuff out of the garage? Well, we just tell the customer they got to do that. And I said, well, here's a novel concept. Go get a trailer and you take all the stuff out of the garage, clean it off and put it in the trailer, and then park the trailer in the front of the street with your brand name on it. And now it's worth $1,500 more for that floor, right? I said, why aren't you doing that? And they go, You think people will go for it? I said, dude, if you ask me to clean my garage out, I've been trying to do that for like 3 years. I haven't done it yet.
You
You know
know,
what I'm saying? So people are sitting right on top of the opportunity, and they're usually telling the client, hey, you got to get this thing prepped or whatever. You got to get this thing. So the second you're telling the client to do something, that should be in the premium option. That's it right there. Makes sense, sir?
yeah, no, I think you're right on the money, and it's simple key things like that. Well, industry standard says, well, screw industry standard, because if you're a new age face, you're a new age contractor, I don't care what service industry you're in here, if you're in the blue collar working space, why do you spend $1.50 on a 2 liter, but you spend $3 on a Gatorade that fits in your hand? It's called convenience,
Mm-hmm.
guys. And if you make it convenient for them, if you make it inconvenient, it's going to equal 50% of the time. You might end up still with it because it's industry standard and they went somewhere else and they got the same level of service. But if you're proposing, that's an incredible idea. Hey, go buy a box trailer for $5,000, charge $1,500 a freaking floor, and you paid for it in a month, or for storing the
That's
and
it.
then
Yeah, yeah.
market yourself the entire time you're there. That is so cool. Well, I've got one more question for you, but before that,
Sure.
your book's on Amazon. We can find you on Service MVP. How can guys get in touch with you? I follow you on LinkedIn. He's worth the follow on LinkedIn. He puts out some good information out there. But tell us a little bit where, if we wanted to get in contact with you, some of the audience, how would we do that?
You can just go to servicemvp.com. We have a chat little bot down there if you want to, and just say, can I talk to Uncle Joe or whatever? I'll be happy to talk to you. Or if you want to talk to one of our other reps, they'd be happy to talk to you too. We have a big team at Service MVP, and we graduate between 500 and 700 employees a month on that platform. We have about eight coaches around the whole country that work on different time zones, and we have classes of anywhere from 50 to 75 people that we do every single day of the week, and we really help. We grind it out just like you guys do, except for we grind out the training element of it, and we have a bunch of content and things in there. So everything I have is I've been very fortunate enough to take a video of it or audio or a book of it, and that's pretty much that. Makes sense. So that's been one of the things we were very good at, is creating content. As you probably saw it on LinkedIn or whatever.
I did for sure, but I to hit that point home, most service-based industries don't understand how freaking expensive training is when you're paying for it out of your dollars, because you train this guy under your training method. You think he's going to be ready to start making decent amount of profit or really starting to really knock down some jobs, say 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, right? That's your training progression. So now, how do you cut that in half? If you can cut that in half to get him start producing quicker is obviously the name of the game here. It's the most expensive. And let me tell you, entrepreneurs, we're not usually the best dadgum trainers and teachers either. So if somebody like Uncle Joe, I really like that, to be honest with you. But if you got Uncle Joe or somebody teaching a class on the specific thing you're looking for information on, take the hour, put your team. I am a huge advocate. It stresses me out having the entire company in there for a staff meeting for an hour and a half, sometimes going over some processes and procedures and making sure they fully understand. But it has to happen, guys, and you got to take the time and get them trained up. And if
let me help you there, Cy. What's even more expensive than training people? Not training them. And then you're making a payroll of untrained people who have no idea what to do. And then you're kicking yourself in your own ass because I should have trained these people. But now my payroll is like 30,000 a week I'm paying or whatever. And now I've got these people who keep screwing things up. And now you become the arsonist fireman. You start your own fire because you never did training. A good fireman prevents the fire by training the community how to stop fires. So a fireman who puts out fires is somebody who's a bad fireman. He should have trained the community and the school in the industrial area. How do you prevent fires? How can your employees, this parking lot can't have trash all over the place. We have to prevent the fires. So that's the thing that training does. There's an arsonist fireman and there's a preventive fireman. If you want to be an arsonist who starts your own fires, then don't do any training, and you'll be the person blaming yourself for not doing it. Make
Man,
sense?
it's so true. I've lived it. I've literally lived it. Wasn't quite 30K, but it was in 20K range. And, I had people that were with me 2 and 3 years, 4 years at that point. I was only a 7 or 8 year business. And I'm like, well, these guys know how I am, how we handle things. And well, we keep running into new contracts and new things keep arising and nobody's jotting them down. How did we handle this? How did it work out? Look back. But
So anytime you say he should know that already, or he should have common sense,
no.
that's where you should have done training instead.
And what I tell my guys all the time is that I'll never get mad at them for what they don't know. That's my job. I'm supposed to know. I'm supposed to train. Not saying the CEO needs to be training everybody. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that I need to ensure that I have some type of training and onboarding from the day you start, and ensure that there's some type of progression that you're going through and actively working on your job duty and your job role. Now,
I completely agree with that. I think leader has to go first for sure. No
100%.
doubt about it.
And that's literally a lot of this podcast. And the people I've been meeting have been sharpening my iron, and it's just making me better every single day for my people. And I've been going through kind of a personal transition there. But
Blue Collar Performance Marketing's passion is to bring attention to the honest work done in blue-collar industries through effective, results-driven marketing tactics. They specialize in comprehensive digital marketing services, from paid advertising on Google and Facebook to website development and content strategy. I started working with Ike and the team earlier this year, and they've had a huge impact on our specific marketing campaign and trajectory of our overall company. Their expertise in digital ad management, website development, social media, and overall marketing strategy has been an absolute game changer for our sales and marketing at SciCon. If you're looking to work with a marketing team who does what they say, does it well, and is always looking for ways to help your company grow, book a discovery call with Ike by going to bcperformancemarketing.com/BCB podcast, or click the link in the show notes /description below. Thanks, guys.
Man, I really appreciate you, Mr. Joe, and I have Uncle Joe. I've got one more thing that I ask everybody. You are episode number 51 here on the Blue Collar Business Podcast.com. What's the takeaway for that blue collar worker, since you're an HVAC guy, true, that guy that's in the attic right now or crawling along the crawl space and he's going, this guy, what is the takeaway for that guy who's just mentally, emotionally, and physically just stuck?
I would say the universe rewards people who take action. When I was stuck, let's put it this way. I didn't get $500,000 in debt like instantly. It went from 1985 till 1991 to get $500,000 in debt. So I could see every year or every month that I wasn't really making money. And then I did have a couple of big events that happened that really devastated my debt. I was probably right along with 100 to 25 to 150, and I could just kind of cash flow would keep the whole thing going, even though it wasn't. And my accountant would fool me like, you made some profit. I'm like, how much did I make? You made 3%. That's pretty good. I'm like, is that good, really? So I didn't know what was good, right? So I'm talking 30% now. I was making 3% back then. So basically, I willingly gaslighted myself, thinking that it would turn around or something like that pretty soon. And that's the thing that it doesn't work. So you have to have the honesty part of it with taking a hard look. It's hard because a lot of husband and wives and people who own businesses or partners, it's hard because you talk about the money. It can sound like a personal insult. If, let's say you got the wife running the books and the husband, like you, is out there doing the work,
Yeah.
and she says, honey, we don't have enough money. And you get almost ticked off at her because you're like, what are you talking about? I'm out here working my ass off. And she's like, we still don't got enough money to cover the payroll. And so, it creates this thing where we don't want to talk about money. So we avoid the money and we just keep going on doing the same wrong. The dysfunction loves routine. And you wind up doing routine dysfunctional things. So you do have to do something different. And And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to my superpower is looking at a company, and within 10 seconds, I can tell if they're making money or not. Just because I can see the way they answer the phone, the way they respond, the way they talk about, the way they talk about the economy. Because people who are successful, they make their own economy. They make their own good. They don't worry about the economy. They make their own good economy. When you have a way of doing the science of pricing and connecting with your client, making a friend with your client, and then pricing the job properly, then you are going to create your own economy. And I always have a saying, I don't participate in a bad economy. I'm just sorry, I won't do that. Make sense?
Yeah. No.
This is how it is. I don't. You want to do it? Go ahead and do it without me. I'm not going to participate in that. I'm going to just work on my own. Go work on my own economy.
That's right. No, it makes perfect sense.
So I would say, if you're stuck, the universe rewards people to take action. Take action to learn something, even if it's not me. Read a book. You should be reading on Amazon audible books on business or leadership or things like that. My advice to get unstuck: take a drive. Like where you live, Si?
Arkansas.
Yeah. So I would say I'm going to take a drive to Tennessee. Just to do a self-improvement trip. I'm going to drive up to Memphis or drive up to Nashville just to listen to audiobooks when I'm driving. Like, do that. You know what I'm saying there? Do something where you're learning, putting something else in your head beside what? Wondering if the Razorbacks are going to win this year? Screw that. Get out there. Get out there. Get out there and learn something. You know what I'm saying? And I would say, when you listen to an audiobook of like me or somebody else, like 7 Habits or Steve or any of the Dale Carnegie or Jack Kent, people like that, you listen to those audiobooks, you're going to be transformed by the time you get to the destination. I'll tell you what, you're going to drive somewhere on a small local trip somewhere, like, you're going to go to Jackson, Mississippi or something like that. You're going to go to, you drive over there and then drive back and have 2 audiobooks you listen to, and you're going to be like transformed.
Oh yeah.
Your destination won't just be back home. You'll be home with a new energy and a new enthusiasm and new information in your brain to give you some inspiration to take action. Because the universe rewards people who take action. People who sit still and wait for things to change, that's not going to work. The only thing that works is doing something different than what's not working. Make sense?
Nothing changes if nothing changes, sir. No truer saying ever.
You have a wisdom about you. I can see that already. So thanks for sharing. Thanks for being so. You're like a brother from another mother. I think it's too bad you don't drink anymore, but it's okay. We can still. We just have an iced tea. We'll have to have an iced tea instead or something like that.
Oh, anytime. No, anytime. I really, truly appreciate you jumping on the show. Sorry about the rescheduling, but this episode is going to help so many guys out there. Already know it, manifesting it right now. And if you're listening out there, guys, go check out servicemvp.com. Click the chat bot, say you want to talk with Uncle Joe. Tell him Si sent you from the Blue Collar Business Podcast, please. So that way he can know that we sent him a few guys over and everything's hunky-dory there. But Mr. Joe, I really appreciate your time. And until next time, sir, I hope to have you on again. Be safe, be kind, and be humble, guys.
Thanks a lot, Si. I appreciate you. Have a good one.
If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a like, share it with the fellers, check out our website to send us any questions and comments about your experience in the blue collar business. Who do you want to hear from? Send them our way, and we'll do our best to answer any questions you may have. Till next time, guys.